So I suppose to finalize my thoughts on this Mustang situation, unfortunately, there are people out there that just no matter what, they're not going to do the right thing. They're going to do the thing that they want to do, regardless of how small and petty this thing that they want to do actually is. And another one of the problems with social media is it does allow people to do that anonymously. And so there's no disincentive from it at that point. So they're just going to go ahead and do whatever, and they don't even care if it's wrong. And they're just, no matter what, they are definitely going to make sure that they don't understand what this moment is about, and what this moment is for. This moment is about, it's not about these people and their petty, grotesque little racial grievances. It's about these three kids and the families and the losses that they've suffered. Right now, there's a guy that just flew in from Calgary, from Alabama into Calgary. And now he somehow has to get down to Staveley, Alberta, so that he can claim the body of his son. So that he can take it home and bury him. And can you even imagine having to do something like that? Like, how is something like that even done? I can't even begin to imagine it. Just how horrible an experience that would be, and under ideal circumstances, let alone having to try to take your son home across international boundaries just so that you can have a funeral. And that's the sort of thing that people are experiencing right now. And these people that are obsessed with trying to make this about, their hatred for Southeastern Asian truck drivers, which, it's become a weird thing with a lot of these people. They're not helping these people. They're not helping this guy. It doesn't do anything to help these kids. The only thing that it helps them do is make themselves look like the biggest assholes that you can find on the damn planet. And this moment is not supposed to be for that. Like, this moment is supposed to be for the rest of us to come together, as a country, as a community, as a sporting community, and mourn these losses, and maybe appreciate a little bit better the things that we have. Appreciate what it is that we have in this game. On the ice and away from the ice, all of it. Appreciate what we have while we have it, because unfortunately, the story has shown us that it can go away in a hurry. And a lot of the people that are trying to make this about their petty racial grievances, these are people that just need to shut the fuck up. Okay, so that's the really unpleasant story to talk about in this particular podcast. The next one is a little bit better. Not so much better if you're an Oilers fan right now, because, about a day ago, I think it was Bob Stauffer, and he said that right now, this is a mediocre hockey team. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Right now, I think that he's not at all wrong. For the last little while, this has been, a very mediocre hockey team that has managed a mediocre hockey team that is capable of doing some extraordinary things. And so we finally did get what we were waiting for all season. We finally got a 3-game winning streak. But most of those games, it was like big come from behind wins. Like being down 3-0 going into the third and having to come back and win it in overtime. Having to come back from behind and win it in overtime, at least a couple of those games. So this team at this particular time really is not as good as a 3-game winning streak would suggest. Now, as of the time that I'm recording this podcast, now they've lost 2 in a row. The one against Minnesota was ugly. And the one against Toronto, just tonight actually, was very difficult to watch. And I think right now it kind of feels like this is a team that's just they're playing like they're looking forward to a vacation just a little bit too much. So by the time that I publish this segment, more than likely the Olympic break will have started. I think the last Oilers game, I believe, is on it's February 4th against the Calgary Flames. Now, hopefully they win that. It's going to be the second of a back-to-back, so it feels like the odds are against them, that they're probably not going to. So they might extend that losing streak to 3 games, which to me, in my opinion, really defeats the purpose of even having a 3-game winning streak. What's the point of losing? If it's the point of winning 3 if you're just going to turn around and lose 3? Like, you might as well just not have. Like for where it's gotten you, you might as well just not have bothered with it in the first place, which I know is a little bit weird to say, but this team just does not really feel like they're playing with the identity that they're Western Conference champions. And right now, they just kind of feel like they're playing with the identity of guys that are they're just waiting to go on vacation. And it definitely should not be that way. There are definitely no fewer than 3 players on this team who just got snubbed for their Olympic teams. Right? Zach Hyman, he's not going to the Olympics. Evan Bouchard probably should be going to the Olympics. He's not going to the Olympics. Matthias Ekholm, he should definitely be going to the Olympics, but he's not going to the Olympics. These are guys that should be playing like they have something to prove. But you watch these last few games, and it just seems like if there's anything that they have to prove, they don't seem to be terribly aware of that. And the fact is that this is a team that has something to prove. This is a team that just played for the Stanley Cup twice, 2 years consecutively, and lost both years. So this is a team with something to prove. This is not a team that can afford to play like they're just waiting to go on vacation. To come out with these sluggish starts, and in some of these cases, like some of these starts, man, I haven't seen, like some of these starts are like Perlini bad. Like, remember that guy that we had here, Mr. We need to be more grateful to win. That Putz. The guy that he found out that he had been demoted to the minors from his mom, who found out about it on Twitter, because nobody from the organization bothered to call him, because they were just like, this guy's a putz. Like, this guy is an idiot. And right now, this team is kind of playing in that exact same manner. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of sense of urgency. And maybe they're just a little bit too accustomed to coming from behind and putting up those big wins and those big comeback wins. It's great when a team can do that, but sometimes that breeds complacency into the game. Maybe that's where they are right now. It's difficult to put your finger exactly on where the source of all of this is. But the one thing that we can say for absolute certain is that this is something that it can't continue. Like right now, this is a team that in the standings is playing for the first overall in the Pacific. Like, that's what they're playing for right now. But based on the way that they're playing, man, you would never guess. They definitely don't look like a team that's playing for first in the Pacific. They look like a team that maybe is entirely unclear as to what it is that they're playing for. Maybe they're just playing until they get to go on vacation. And if that's the case, well, what is it that needs to happen to correct that particular attitude? I don't know. Can Chris Knobloch just cancel the vacation? Just tell them, hey, you guys aren't going anywhere. Like, we're gonna run 3 weeks of practices. Screw you. This is how you're gonna play. Because they definitely, to me, do not look like a team that deserves to go on a 3-week vacation right now. Especially when the two most important players on the team are not getting that same opportunity. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Josh Szymanski, they're all going to be working very hard for the next 3 weeks. I don't see any reason why the rest of this team deserves to actually have that break, but I'm sure that it's mandated in the CBA. I'm sure that there's actually probably like a rule somewhere that's going to prevent the coaching staff from being like, no, you guys show up here and practice a little bit. So if they can't do that, well, then what do they actually do? Who knows? Maybe there's a trade to be made over the Olympic break. I think maybe this team could use, a more experienced defenseman. Would have been nice to be able to bring back Corey Perry, but it doesn't look like that's in the cards. It looks like the Kings are going to make a pretty good hard push to try to get into the playoffs. So I wouldn't count on being able to do something like that. There was talk that maybe they'd bring back Evander Kane in a trade. I don't think he's moved anywhere just yet, but it kind of looks like maybe Colorado, maybe Dallas. So, and for a team that has gotten to be, frankly, I don't think it's unfair to say that they've gotten to be a little bit lazy, at least in the way that they've started games. In a team that's become a little bit, too complacent. You could definitely say they're too complacent. Maybe Evander Kane isn't exactly the best player that you want to add back into that mix. It sure would be nice if they could find somebody with a leadership pedigree, a little bit more like, say, Duncan Keith, another guy we've had here before. Well, it's tough to say, but definitely something needs to change. So I am really looking forward to the Olympics myself, though. So at the very least, it does give us an opportunity to take our minds off the Oilers a little bit. And I am definitely excited to shake things up on the podcast a little bit and talk about some more international hockey rather than just Oilers hockey. So that's going to be a welcome change around here. So keep coming back for that.